Ever wonder why some people are very bold, direct, and fast moving, and others a little more detailed oriented, have a methodical pace to them? Maybe they're even a little more supportive. And there's a method to this madness called behavioral science, that we each have our own little work style that has been groomed not only through genetics, but also through our upbringing, our environment. And so let's dig into behavior science all the way back to its origins, back in 1928. This research came from psychologist William Marston, who wrote Emotions of Normal People. Now, back in 1928, he wasn't trying to build an assessment tool. He was studying how people's emotions show up in their everyday life, both at home and when they go to work. And during this research, he identified 4 common tendencies that continually came up. Now, the first assessments didn't even come to be until the 1950s. Industrial psychologists took this research and wanted a practical application, a practical tool from this behavioral science. Early versions of the DISC assessment were used in workplaces to not only increase team building and that communication, but also hiring practices, who fits where. This was all the way back in 1950. Now today, DISC is the most widely used worldwide assessment tool. It's used in leadership development and sales training, workforce strategy, hiring, team training, enhancing that communication, reducing that conflict. And the reason why is these assessments and this tool don't just check the boxes saying you're this personality and you're that. DISC is a behavioral language. It explains how people do things, how they make decisions, how they interact with one another, how they respond to stress, those behaviors, instead of who they are at the core, which is some of the other personality assessments. Now, why I gravitated to DISC, early on in my career, we actually took it, a few of us in the leadership team, and why I gravitated to it is because of the practical application of it, because it could be operational, it could be how we place teams, it could be how we place people into certain projects, and you could see it once you knew their DISC assessment. It wasn't everything that defined who they are, but it came from a place of understanding their behaviors and where their energy is best fit. So, from that holistic view of not only understanding one another from a team side, strategically, we could use it as a business so that we could be productive, hit our numbers without burning people out. Now, we're going to go through the 4 styles briefly. Go check out the other resources on stress management, time management, workforce strategy along on this channel. Let's go through the first one. This is our Ds, our reds, as I like to call them. They are extremely fast paced. They are direct and they are results driven. So if you have positions that need that type of speed, that are very goal orientated, you probably want a D. Now, Ds, the pros of them is they get things done. The cons of that is they might miss certain things because they're moving too fast or they don't check all the details before moving forward. They are extremely goal and results driven. Pro, right? But the con of that is they'll do anything to get the results, which may increase the conflict within your team. So Ds, you can already see where they're best placed in your organization, where they're great for your workforce strategy, where their energy can thrive. That's our Ds, that's our reds. Let's move over to our Is. These are our yellows, and they're a little bit more social and persuasive. They also are fast movers. They love shiny objects and change often. In those pros, you can already kind of see the cons. These social behaviors may be actually a distraction to your team, a distraction to themselves, kind of draining that energy in maybe unproductive tasks. Because they like to change often, there's not a lot of consistency, so they might start something and not have all that follow through to the end. You can already see where they are best placed in your organization and where their energy thrives around people and connection and that team building and team development, supporting one another, maybe even in mentorships, training the new hires, or other people-orientated type of roles. And who they actually get along with is a slower paced work style because they're steady and they're methodical. That's our supportives. That's our greens. They are here to fill in the gaps, to see kind of the holes and mention that out. They are purely here to support one another to success. So, although their pace might be slower, it's for good reason. They're the ones that are going to see those gaps in your operational flow. They're checking and balancing everything across departments. They're seeing 4 steps ahead where we might already have a hang up. And with those pros come some cons. Because they see some of those holes and they see the gaps where other people may not, there might be some more conflict and they actually avoid it. So the way to get the pros is to address the cons, the conflict, and getting them really comfortable with the team through trust, through communication, because that's where you're going to get actually the most value of S's, and that's where they're going to feel the most fulfilled, where their energy thrives because they can be supportive of the team. And S's, they get along with their other methodical friends, and that's compliance. These are our high C's. These are our data detailed orientated people. Have you ever met someone that they just need all the facts before they can move forward? They need to know steps 6, 7, 8 before they can even begin step 1. They're probably a compliance work style, and that means they move when they have data and information. They love clarity. They don't like risk. They love consistency. They might avoid change. They will move with high quality, high value once they have those data, details, information, or off of a proven process that has already lowered the risk of taking the next steps forward. You can already see the pros and cons of when you place those people in certain positions. If you have them in a fast, always changing position, they're going to burn themselves out. That's not where their energy thrives. If you have them in a role that they can research, dig into the details, that's where they thrive. Now, you may be thinking you're in one or the other, and that is correct. You may have two at any point in time, but you do have one that dominates to your default. That you're either a D, dominance, you like to move fast, you're results orientated, you're I, yellow, you're a little bit more social and persuasive, S, you're supportive, you have a methodical pace, you love consistency, you're supportive of others, and compliance, the data details orientated work style. Now, I mentioned some pros and cons, but to have a really effective team, actually all 4 complement each other. If you have a D, a fast mover that is results driven, and sometimes they don't stop for the facts, pair them up with a C who moves only by data, details, and facts. Or similarly, an I who likes the shiny objects. They like to move, but they don't like to complete it. Pair them up with an S who also likes to support one another, but they want that follow through because they want to be supportive of the team to success. When you have all 4 pieces of this puzzle in a team and they understand one another's behaviors, you have a very productive, thriving team. Now, some positions will have more of one work style than another, and that's okay because that's where their energy thrives. But you also want to make sure that you have some of those complementary work styles within a team, because if you have all D's, for example, on a sales team, they're not going to be super consistent. They might be hitting the results, but they are causing chaos on the rest of the operation. Or if you have all C's in a position like engineering, you have a lot of data detailed orientated engineers, but are they actually moving things forward, or are they stuck in analysis paralysis? The key to DISC is understanding it's not a personality box to check. It is a tool, a behavioral tool to understand one another, where their energy thrives, where it drains, and placing them where the value is the most, not only for the organization, but for them. We know when people can manage their energy, they show up with creative ideas, innovative solutions, and minimal conflict. Knowing your team members' DISC brings that commonality, that common language into your organization. Now, there's a couple pieces to this that I want to bring some awareness to. When I got my first DISC assessment in my early 20s, it was a great assessment, about 46 pages long, a lot of graphs, bullet points, some action planning, and a few of us key executives took the assessment, but not all. So the ones that wanted the growth did it, and the ones that didn't were stuck. So then we had this gap, this separation on our team. The other thing that happened is we didn't get trained because we only had a budget for a few assessments. So the understanding of the DISC never happened between the team. And then we never implemented it into our operation. So it's important as you're thinking about implementing DISC into your organization, into your team, that you remember those 3 phases. The first phase is taking those assessments. The next phase is training. And we're not just talking about basic DISC training, we're talking about how do you stress and energize yourself, managing that energy around your DISC style, because everyone needs to manage it a little differently. For an I, a high I like myself, I'm going to need to be connected. I'm going to need to be socializing. I need that team environment. For maybe a C, they need to research. They need to dig into it a little bit more to feel more confident before they move forward. That training also includes building trust. Your leaders, how do you lead and manage a team through DISC? Because each team member in different work styles need a little bit different things. When we connect, we'll talk about where does your organization need that help on the topics of trust or communication or leadership, and we build out a program. Most of these are done virtually so that you can record them for future new hires until we do another round of training. And it can be used as a refresher for those that want to dig into it further or rewatch something that they missed. I'm a certified trainer not only in DISC, but also virtually. So it's not your usual boring PowerPoint hour-long training. We're going to engage so that they not only understand their work style, but one another. And the last phase that I want to talk about is integration. So we took the assessments, now we understand ourselves a little bit more. We took the training, so now we understand one another and other work styles. Integration then is the third phase, and this looks different per organization. Are they remote? Are they in person? Are we talking about a plant environment versus a corporate environment? And what does this look like as you integrate it into your operations? So that means, how do we do meetings based on the work styles in this meeting? How do we do hiring? How do we do professional development? How do we do succession planning? Trainer leaders on feedback based on the work styles. When you get that integration flow, you start to really see where this behavioral science comes to life. Because suddenly people don't suck so much. People aren't complex creatures. They have a behavior that will respond accordingly per their work style, and now you understand it. The key to DISC behavioral science is not to do another thing. It's to show up at work and at home differently with more energy and understanding. Let's connect to see what this looks like for your organization to get you unstuck, away from that conflict and into understanding and trusting one another. You can also grab up your individual assessment to see what does this look like and if this is a right fit for you. It's a great tool not only for people but to improve your processes, your operation, and build up your talent for where you want to go.